And all right, so we are live now for this special edition, I guess, of our Atlanta Hawks AMA series that we have. And joining us right now, we have Bob Rathbun, the Atlanta Hawks television play-by-play broadcaster. Mr. Rathbun, it's a pleasure having you on. How you doing?
Great. It's a newsworthy day, so it worked out pretty good here.
Absolutely. I didn't expect. It's just been a great, not necessarily a great day, but it's been a really busy day in terms of free agency talk and draft talk. So it's just kind of exciting, where everything's kind of going with everything. So the AMAs ask me anything. So for the most part, anything goes, but not, we're gonna avoid some more of the controversial questions asked and everything. So we'll kind of start off with a question from JMO number 3. And he asked, "Hi, Bob. Thank you for doing this AMA. My brother and I went to school with your son for a few years at Mount Vernon, and I've been following your career ever since. I just wanted to say that I enjoy your enthusiasm and clear love for the game. So the questions I have for you, first off, what is the best part of your job? Second, which broadcasters do you admire most? And then third, what is your favorite experience or memory from your job?"
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. Appreciate the kind words. The best part of the job, at least, being in the NBA, is that there's a game every day, or at least it seems that way. And that gets me excited because I love going to the arena and I love being around the team and having a chance to go, pretty much on a daily basis, whether it's practice or a game, traveling, being with the team. I think that's probably the most fun of all. The broadcast itself, there's a lot of hard work by a lot of people that go into that. But that's exciting too. If you love what you do, and I do, it doesn't really seem like work. You'll have to help me. What was the last question?
The last question was your favorite experience or memory from your
from the is what they mean.
Well, I mean, just any part, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Of your career.
For the Hawks, it would be hard to top what we did last season. Two seasons back, I guess, when you win 60 games and win 19 in a row and do all the incredible things that we did, go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time. It would be hard to top that. That's for sure. There aren't a lot of games per se that stand out, but moments in games. And I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great moments. The Celtics series that got this playoff run started when we were the 8th seed and took the eventual world champs to a game 7. That was pretty exciting. The individual accomplishments along the way, Dikembe and the Joe Johnson and just the great players that we've had, and just being around them and getting to know them has been a lot of fun. The other sports that I do, I did the Braves for a while and had a chance to do Andres Galarraga's first game back from cancer, and that was very emotional. Hit a home run, that kind of thing. So there are little moments here and there, but I'd say just the next game is the most exciting to me. I can't wait now to get the schedule and see where we're going and get training camp going and be back in the air chair again and back on the air. That to me is the most exciting thing.
Absolutely. So the next question comes from Hugo, and Hugo asks, "I know you worked for the Braves many moons ago, so you have years and years of experience in Atlanta. Was Atlanta where you always wanted to work, or was it just something that kind of happened?"
I'd say a little bit of both. I grew up in North Carolina, and so I grew up an Atlanta sports fan, listening to the Hawks and the Braves on WSB back in the day. And then, of course, when the Superstation came into being, having a chance to watch just like everybody else did. And so you always had an affinity for Atlanta. Moved to Virginia, was in Detroit for a while, and then came here in '96. And, it was great. I was always, because of the proximity to North Carolina, to Atlanta, and this being the only, major, far before the Charlotte teams ever came into being. This was the only hub for Major League Sports in the Southeast. So I think everybody in this 8-state area became Atlanta sports fans, and I was no different, and loved every second of it. Coming here, and is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Awesome. And kind of going off of that, Hugo also asked if you could have chosen a team or a market besides Atlanta to work in, what market or team would that have been with?
Boy, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I've always been sort of a bloom where you're planted kind of guy. I enjoyed this the most probably because it keeps me in the Southeast. I still do ACC basketball games on the college front, so I still have a chance to get which I love. So this is perfect for me. Do I wish we'd win 10 championships and by now? Yeah, that'd be great. But you know how it is in the NBA. If you don't have the big star, it's hard to get it done. Not impossible, but hard. And so that's the only thing really missing is making that run to get the brass ring.
Absolutely. This next one comes from Chance Brambles 81. What was it like to work for the Detroit Tigers after Ernie Harwell?
Well, it was, excuse me, it was very interesting. There was so much controversy. This is back in 1991. There was so much controversy about Ernie's departure and the retirement of Paul Carey that my partner and I went into a real firestorm. But perhaps the most interesting was the fact that the team changed hands. We were 3 months into our first year on the job, and all the people who were instrumental in bringing Rick Riz and myself to Detroit were fired. We'd been on the job since March, April, and then May. The team changed hands, so that made it unique. That's for sure. But all's well that ends well, and we had 3 years together in Detroit, Rick and I, and it wasn't the easiest thing. I wouldn't recommend it. Be the guy that follows the guy, sort of thing. But it turned out great because it gave me a chance to come to Atlanta.
Okay. Would you ever trade places with Steve Holman for a game? In terms of you doing radio one day and Steve doing the television broadcast for one game?
Oh, if our bosses asked us to do it, sure. I have done radio for a long, long time, so it would be fine for me. I would enjoy the challenge.
Absolutely. Kind of going towards a free agency question. What do you think the chances of the Hawks picking up Kevin Durant in the offseason would be?
Boy, I don't know. Those types of questions for anybody on the outside, very hard to answer. Not that if I had knowledge, and like this Q&A could get it over the top, and Kevin, we love you and come. That would be great. But I just don't know what's going on in the background. I think the fact that it's out there, going to do everything they can to pursue him is a good thing, because I think it sends several messages. One, to free agents, to agents, to the rest of the clubs, that Atlanta is going to be aggressive in the marketplace under our great new owner, Tony Rustler and Grant Hill. I think it sends a message to our fans that we're serious about this, that we're ready to chase the big fish, and we think we can get them. And I also think it sends a message to the media that the old days of the Hawks are behind us, that we're a serious player. We're good and getting better. We're sort of, I think, in the top of the second inning with this ownership group. We've got so many good things on the horizon. Friday, as many of you, we break ground on our new practice facility, which is going to be an absolute positive game changer for the Hawks and for free agents and players around the league to come here and train and work, and with P3 on site and the great Emory staff. This is going to be a destination. And I think that by natural extension will be make us attractive year round for guys to live here and play here and play for the Hawks. We're going to refurbish Phillips Arena. I don't know how and what it's going to look like in the end, but the plans are coming into focus. And by next summer, we will begin the renovation process to Phillips and put it on par with any arena in the league, and certainly with our beautiful new neighbors, the Falcons, over in their new stadium. That's going to make quite the attractive downtown destination for football, basketball, because Final Four is going there, and I'm sure that an NBA All-Star Weekend is coming back to Atlanta at sometime when we get everything set. So there's a lot of great things on the horizon, and I think the pursuit of a Kevin Durant is sort of a signal to the rest of the basketball world that there's another player on the scene, and it's going to be the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to get your if you wasn't sure if you knew this, but did you see that article that placed Phillips Arena as the #1 NBA sports arena in terms of fan experience and everything? Yeah, it was made. I'm not sure in terms of credibility. It was being shared around by a lot of people, but it seemed like the whoever wrote the article, they had like a main focus in terms of fan experiences at venues and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool that they named Phillips Arena, up in that stature and everything.
Yeah. Since it opened, Phillips Arena has always been highly regarded by the performers that come in. All the acts, the singing acts and everything, they just rave about Atlanta. The treatment they get, how easy the building is to navigate and perform in, and acoustics and you name it. That has been a constant nine, so they'll only make it better.
Absolutely. This next question comes from Sour Patch Adult, and they say, "Hi, Bob. Loved you growing up. Where do you get your suits from?"
Where do I get?
Yes.
They are custom made by Tom James Company.
Tom James. All right, so I gotta make sure to write that. I gotta make sure for myself. So, do they also provide the Bolt Green swatch and tie you wore during the draft party last year as well?
No, the team actually provided that because we couldn't find a Bolt Green pocket square.
Mm-hmm.
And a funny story, Peter Sorkoff, who is one of our VPs in charge of the branding, I told him, I said, now look, I gotta have a Bolt Green pocket square because I've got the gray suit, for the Georgia Granite Gray, and obviously the Bolt Red's easy to get, but we got to come up. I mean, with the Torch Red, but we got to come up with the Bolt Green pocket square. And he scoured Atlanta, and they just did not exist, as you can well imagine. These are not a great demand.
Mm-hmm.
And he found one at a department store. Gosh, I can't remember now exactly the name of it. And he asked them to go through their inventory nationally. They came up, and the only 3 last summer in existence that we could find, I had one, and who else wore it? Coonan, I think, and a third one. I don't know exactly who wore it, and I can't remember you all remember probably better than I would, but when we unveiled the uniforms. But that was the big deal. So the team found 3 in America, and we got our hands on them.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic story. Let's see. Going through. This one comes from Clean Shots. Do you still follow University of Virginia basketball?
Oh, sure. I still do the ACC game, so I keep in close touch with what's happening in Virginia. Tony Bennett's one of my all-time favorite people. I kid when I do a Virginia game, and Mike Jaminski is my partner. I always tell Tony Bennett, you, not him, but you, Tony, are my favorite Charlotte Hornet of all time, not Jaminski.
This next one comes from Thrash Fan, and he says, "Thank you so much for doing this AMA, Mr. Rathbun. My question is about your craft as a play-by-play What, if any, routine do you have to make sure you are at your best come game time?
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for the kind words. I hope that I'm at my best come game time. I think probably the big thing is, I've got a checklist of all the things that I have to have done
Mm-hmm.
before I feel ready. It's sort of like Kyle Korver going through that pregame shooting routine.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets it done, he knows everything's done, and that's sort of the way I am in preparing for the games. I've got a checklist of 8, 10, 12 things, how many ever it is, that I need to have done before I feel like, okay. So that really comes into play when you've got the fourth game in 5 nights and you're a little tired and the travel, etc. But it's funny, by the time to Phillips, or if we're on the road and the lights come on and they start playing the music and the guys start coming out to warm up, that drum starts pumping and you're ready to go again. But checklist that I go through, and it's rosters and stats and
Mm-hmm.
rules, newspaper clippings, podcasts. There's a set things that I want to go through and have read and processed. So I make sure I got everything buttoned down for that game, because the challenge comes not from the Hawks, because we see them every game. We know what's going on with Atlanta, and the challenge on our side is to keep it fresh for the Hawks fans. But for me, is I got to know what's going on with the other team. If we haven't played somebody in a while, and you got some catching up to do. So a lot of video, but they provide us with, gosh, more stuff than we could ever use. It's just a matter of going through it and knowing what you need and putting that into the broadcast.
Absolutely. Like I know what you mean. Like as aspiring broadcaster, like when I'm doing college games and stuff like that, like you have like your SIDs like providing you with those big stack of papers with all the stats, and you're having to go through. Kind of like, all right, this stuff's good. Okay, I need this. I really don't need these 5 pages, but yeah, I absolutely agree on on that front. There's a big checklist you have to go through in terms of finding information. And
yeah, know what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. But you got to go through it all to find it. So
absolutely. This next one comes from Smoky Dog, and he asked, "Do you guys?"
I love these names, but
what was that? He was asking, "Do you guys listen to fan feedback in terms of your commentating, and if so, how do you guys adjust?"
Like Twitter or social media?
Yeah, like kind of like I guess that Facebook or Twitter feedback, like people send you anything like that.
Yeah, I try to engage our Hawks fans, and on I do as much as I can. It's the 122nd time out to bang something out, but I want to keep our fans engaged. They're rooting for the Hawks just like everybody else, and I try to stay in touch. And the one thing that I do with the Twitter feed that maybe some others don't is that when I start my prep in the morning, and if I've got, the time and I can do it, we're not rushed. What I try to do is as I'm doing my research for the game, and I've come up with the tidbits that I'm going to put on my boards and share later that night, I'll put it on the Twitter feed. And just to give you guys a little extra, for the follow. I want to make following my Twitter account valuable, and it's not just some opinion or something like that. If I see a story that I find interesting about the NBA or life or whatever, that I'll put a link to it on my Twitter feed. So I want our fans engaged, and I want them engaged like I do, and they seem appreciative. I think they enjoy it. Until somebody tells me to stop, I'll keep doing it. But I want I want our fans in just as emotionally involved as I am, because I think about this stuff from the second I get up till the time I go to bed at night, 365 days a year.
Absolutely. Kind of going towards that 365 a year that you just talked about. What do you do to stay busy during the off season? This is also coming from Smoky Dog. He's saying he's dying without his Hawks right
now. Yeah, I know. I'm still The motor's still running. I haven't shut it down on Fox South and Southeast. We do the Atlanta Dream games. So our WNBA team here gets coverage, and we do all the home games. So that keeps me busy in the summertime, engaged. I like it because the rules are the same, so I'm able to stay up with the NBA and WNBA rules, and that's great benefit to me. You just don't put it on the shelf for 6 months and then pull it back out in November. So that's very helpful. Usually I end up doing some college football, and I still have the college basketball. So I got a lot of stuff to keep me busy. But the main focus is, of course, the Hawks. And, it's just a daily grind. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, there's no real off season anymore. Maybe August is about the only time the NBA is quiet. Because, as you know, with the draft and then free agency, and then trades and summer league, I'm pretty hot and heavy here for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And there's no time to slow down now. I mean, 2 major, at least 1 official trade today, and of course the Teague thing. And, so we're as excited now as we would be during the season. The playoffs were great and kept up with all. So, there's no real downtime. It's not like I just turn the brain off for a month and check out. I don't do that.
Absolutely. I mean, you're also going on to a lot of podcasts and radio shows as well. So it's constant. You're also doing this Q&A with us as well. So
yeah, well, this is great. I love it.
So I guess my next question, because you talked about Jeff Teague, I guess one of the questions we want to ask is, what is your favorite Jeff Teague moment when he was with the Atlanta Hawks?
Oh, boy. You'll have to refresh my memory if there's one that stands out in y'all's mind. I just loved, we just coined that phrase Teague time, when he got it going. And I think Nick and I had as much fun with that. And then the young lady who does our graphics, who is just a delight, a young lady named Gretchen Caney. And I said, find an animation of a clock, like one of those Bugs Bunny cartoons, and get the big hands and have them going backwards, and we'll just put Teague time on the face of it, and the bell goes off, and when he gets it rolling, and we would lay that into the corner of the screen, and we had our own Teague time moment when he would get on one of those riffs where he would score 7, 8, 10 straight points and make the great passes. So I would say not one particular moment, but that grouping of what we called Teague time a few years. If this thing's official, and I have to say that because it's not official, and I think they're going to wait. From what I'm reading, they're going to wait till the cap number is secure before they finalize it, because I'd probably tinker with et cetera. But I just want to say, for all Hawks fans, thank you, Jeff Teague. I mean, this young man gave us some incredible moments. The 60-win run, the playoff game, everything that he gave us, he'll go down as one of the great Hawk point guards of all time. His longevity, the games that he's won, to look at his career from where it started when he was just buried as a rookie, and Larry Drew sort of force feeding him into the role to become a starter, and kind of spitting the bit a little bit early, and then finally taking the reins, gets an opportunity when Kirk Heinrich got hurt against Orlando, and then Teague starts against Derrick Rose, in the playoffs, and we go up there and win game 1 in Chicago, and Jeff was a big reason why. And I just love the guy. I always have, and I've told, Jeff, you got greatness in you, but you got to understand that and believe it. And I think the knock on Jeff, if there is one, is the fact that he just wasn't at that high elite level every night. But that's a lot to ask, that somebody's going to be up there every night. I mean, that's reserved for the Hall of Famers in our league. But I thought he did a lot of good things. And when the Hawks were playing their best, there was not a night that Jeff Teague wasn't also playing his best. And this has been talked about and rumored and a lot of conjecture because of the contract situation for both he and Dennis, that something had to give. They're both up next summer. Now, Dennis is obviously eligible for an extension. Jeff is too. So something's got to give. You got to decide, is Jeff our guy? Is Dennis our guy? Is neither our guy? So if this turns out to be true, and I'm sure, then they've made their decision. And at least right now, it appears that Dennis is going to be the guy. Now, that said, as we record this at 6:25 on Wednesday before the draft, who knows what else is that they're not talking about, and we won't find out until it's announced.
Absolutely.
We don't know. Are they going to package the two firsts? Are they thinking about another trade? Is there a guy in the draft that they've identified that they need to move up? The one thing this does, folks, it gives us an astronomical amount of cap room. We picked up, well, counting Horford's cap hold, I think we still got somewhere around $24 million to play with before you even get to Bazemore, because you're gonna have to eat into the cap to pay for him. So you've got a lot out there in terms of movable parts, money to spend, and who knows? You could sign two max guys now with Jeff contract not on the book. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I will say for Jeff, the chance to go home and play for Indiana, I think is a pretty cool thing, and as we did with Shelvin Mack, and as we did with Justin Holiday, and really as we did for Damari Carroll, to make him and give him the opportunity to make himself a valuable free agent, you got to do right by your players, And if you've made up your mind that you want to move somebody, then get him into a desirable situation, because that comes back to you, I think, down the road. Players and agents understand, hey, you know what? You play for the Hawks, you're going to be treated well. You'll be paid well, you'll be taken care of, and that's a good place to play. So I think all of that comes back to you.
Absolutely. I know one, like, for me, in terms of like a Teague moment that kind of pops up for me, is the Teague shrug back against the Pacers playoff series, when Pacers were the 1 seed, we were the 8 seed. I remember, because one, it's just iconic, him doing the shrug, after making everything. And then also, I was there for that game. That was my very first Hawks game I ever attended. So that was, for me at least, that's a iconic Teague moment in my mind. This next question comes from Aviator157. They ask, what do you and Dominique do during the commercials?
He usually eats popcorn, and not much. We don't have a lot of time. Generally, we're taking care of the business of the broadcast. Our producer and director, and whatever, we've got so many commercial reads to make, and so many business for the ball club. Hey, don't forget Orlando's coming in Saturday night, cards to read. If we have a series of replays coming up, we're getting all that organized, so it goes very quickly. We don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally. They're showing Neek something that like for a replay that we're going to use. Okay, Neek, here's the telestrator, and here's what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. So generally that's what we do during the commercials. Now, halftime, we've got off because the studio guys take it. And that's really the only break that we get during the game.
Absolutely. This one comes from Skeet Munani. I think I'm pronouncing that right. They're asking, saying thanks for doing this, and then excluding Atlanta, which arenas are the loudest and toughest to play at?
Ooh, Oracle, number one. I tell you, Boston is vicious in the playoffs. Cleveland wasn't that bad. I must say. They had to artificially, now it's probably Golden State was a different story, but for our series, it was not very intimidating at all to me. And then, of course, I'm just sitting there. That's the only time I don't have a headset on. But they had to pump it up with artificial noise. Those fans at that point, were pretty spoiled. They just figured we're going to win, and they just kind of sat on their hands. It wasn't that loud and intimidating. Boston, tenfold. Oracle, 20-fold. Oklahoma City, very loud, very intimidating because the fans are right on top of you. Toronto can get a little tight, a little noisy up there. But those are the ones that come to mind. Chicago's good, when they're good and rolling. That place is tough. Those are the ones that kind of pop into my mind. I'm sure there are others, but those are the ones that come to mind immediately.
Okay. Next one comes from Atlanta Avenger. He says, "Thank you for doing this, Mr. Rathbun. I hope you enjoyed my flair." Just so you know, on the subreddit, we have flares on there that you can put next to your username and stuff like that. So you can have like head flares of the players, the icons, stuff like that. And we have actually one of the flares we have is your head. So you can place like anybody can have like a flare of your head next to their username. Same with Dominique and Steve as well. So
awesome.
The question they ask is, let me find it again real quick. What was your favorite Hawks play from the season, and who is your favorite non-Hawks player to watch?
Ooh, this season, gosh, I'd have to go back and think about that. What was the other question? My favorite non-Hawk to
your favorite non-Hawks player to watch.
I don't know what that means.
I guess
NBA player.
Yeah, basically your favorite NBA player to watch.
Again, I have to go back and think. I want to win the game, so I don't really give a crap about the other 29 teams. I don't look at these guys like fans do. I'm trying to figure out a way. How can we beat them? Probably Steph, maybe. I mean, that's sort of the obvious answer because I enjoy his, the ball handling and the passing and that. So he's a fun guy to watch. But when the game starts, man, I want to win. I don't. I hope they go over 30. I don't care. I just want to win the game.
All right, so I guess we're coming up towards the end of our time and everything. So I know you're busy and you gotta go and everything. So this last one I'll kind of ask. There's a question from me. Okay. Was there a particular broadcast team that you watched growing up and you were like, that's who I want to kind of base my style off of, or is there any particular broadcaster you base your style off of when you started broadcasting?
Okay, I will answer that after I forgot to answer the moment.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
There was no what the best moment of the season was, and that was winning Game 6 in Boston. To be there, to be the first Hawks team in Atlanta history, and the first Hawks team since 1958, to beat those no good SOBs up there, it was awesome. That was the part of the season. And, I stick my hand out. I figure everybody's going to come over and congratulate us. We've won in Boston. Nobody congratulates you. The fans are giving us the middle finger. Isaiah Thomas is down at the other end of the sideline, and he's yelling at Schroeder, "Meet me in the back." It was crazy. And, it was sort of like the old Peggy Lee song. Is that all there is? We just beat these guys, and nobody congratulates you. Nobody says goodbye. Nobody says good luck. You're just out the door. But, it was funny because the only two really, Holman some, but really the only people there that really were in touch with that were me and Neek. Neek just wanted to step on the floor at the end of that game to say, you know what, I want to be on the Hawks team that beat Boston in Boston. And he said that on the air, and I thought that was so great. That, we finally did it. But then you look at the guys, it's the first time Kyle Korver's ever played Boston in the playoffs. So he doesn't have any big attachment to Boston. Bud, it's just another, team you got to beat. They don't have the history like our fans have the history of all the disappointments and all the tough losses. But to beat them up there in Game 6, the best. Now, on to the broadcasting question. Not really. And I say that because my growing up was pretty unique. The guy who introduced me to this was Marty Brennaman, who's a Hall of Fame announcer. And when you're 12 years old and you're hanging around Marty, which, we did every game together. I kept stats, football, basketball, baseball, you name it. We did it all together. When you're 12, you figure well, this is how you do it. I mean, what else do you need? And little do we know, of course, that Marty was supremely talented and, a Hall of Fame announcer to be. Not everybody's like that. But I'm growing up in North Carolina, you'd listen on the radio and you'd hear the guys that you liked. I was always a Milo Hamilton fan down here doing the Braves games. I was, I think everybody in our business respects Vince Scully and what he does. But I don't know that I'm patterned myself after anybody. If it was to be probably Milo and Marty, because those are the two guys I heard the most. But I think all of us try to find our unique voice in this and come up with our own style. I always wanted to be informative, at the same time exciting and engaged with high energy. I never really wanted to phone it in. Had great teachers along the way. And I think all that sort of rolled into one is kind of what you get. But I love to prepare. I love to, I don't want to cheat our fans. That's number one. And my employer, they pay me to do this. And I think that I need to be an expert on the NBA and an expert on the rules and an expert in television. But the main thing is I'm a conduit for the fans. You guys live the Hawks, generally through our telecasts. And we have Hawks fans all over the world that are tuning in. And every night that they tune in, I want to give them everything I've got. So that's my starting point.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rathbun, for coming on. Really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come, grace this community, be able to answer the questions we had for you. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And, that's really going to get exciting tomorrow night at the draft. And then with free agency on July 1st, with what happens with Al and Kent, it's going to be a wild ride here coming up. And I think the fact that we've already seen, a couple of trades today, wow, if this is the start, man, this is going to get crazy. So, Rose going to the Knicks and, who else is going? Is Noah going to the Knicks now? And it's going to get a little crazy. So stay tuned. Maybe we can do this again, after the dust settles later in the summer, once we know what we got to go to camp with, and we'll do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much. And you guys don't follow, if you guys don't follow Bob on Twitter, you need to do so. You can follow him at Bob Rathbun TV over on Twitterverse. He's got a lot of great tweets about the Atlanta Hawks, a lot of other opinions and, articles, about sports, the sporting world and everything. Great follow. Definitely need to follow him. Also, you also have the public. I can't remember the Twitter handle for the public speaker handle.
Yeah, that's for my speaking. It's Bob_Rathbun. The other.
That's right.
But that's the speaking feed, and I don't put a lot of sports on there, if any. But I'd love to have you follow. And just a thanks to all the Hawks fans. It was tough this year. We got spoiled. It was such a magic carpet ride 2 seasons ago. But this club's in a good place. I can't stress enough with Tony and his ownership. This is going to be good, and it's going to be good for a long time. That practice facility, folks, is going to be state-of-the-art, game changer for this franchise, like nothing we've had in a long, long time. And I just like the direction we're going. They're not satisfied. They want to win. They're willing to spend the money. And believe me, they got plenty of it to spend. And they want to do this right. They want the fan experience at Phillips Arena to be second to none. The refurbishing of the arena is going to be fabulous. I mean, it's just an exciting time to be a Hawks fan. We're just gonna keep the beat going.
Awesome. Like I said, once again, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Like I said, more than willing to have you come back on once the dust settles and everything. So
yeah, let's do it in September when the guys all come back, maybe after Labor Day sometime, and we know, who the camp invites are and what we got for a ball club. We'll do this, and we'll know the schedule by then. So I'm excited. Let's get going.
Absolutely. So those listening in right now, be sure to mark your calendars for sometime around September. And then also remember to stick around for tomorrow when we have Cawcast and Josh Lane as a part of this continuing AMA series that we're having on the subreddit. Josh Lane, Cawcast are going to be answering your questions. They're also going to be having a podcast going on at the same time. So they'll be recording and answering your questions as well. So everyone take care, and,